Hello, my name is Jennifer Wilson, and I'm with the Gulfport School District, and today we are going to be talking about Standard RI 4.2, writing a summary of an informational text. Now, earlier I had created a video with the same standard, RI 4.2, which is finding main idea and supporting details of an informational text. Now we're going to take that information and we're going to write a summary. So let's look at our learning target for today. Okay, I can write a detailed and thorough summary of an informational text. All right, so let's review some vocabulary. All right, so what is an informational text? An informational text is just a nonfiction writing written with the intent to inform the reader. Okay, so it's just you're getting your information. Okay, main idea. Main idea is just what most of the text is about. What is the gist of what you're reading? Okay, and we have a new word, summary. All the summary is just a brief restatement of the text with the main idea and supporting details. So you're including that in your summary. Okay, so now that we know what an informational text is, how to find the main idea and supporting details, now let's get to our passage. All right, so the very first thing that I like to do is I like to just go through, and when I do a close read, I just like to read the paragraph just to see what I'm even reading about. So if you want to pause the video right now to read over it, you may do so. Okay, so now that we have had that moment to go through and read it, now we're reading it again because we've got to find out what the main idea is and the supporting details. So let's read so we can find those. All right, the wonders of water. Water plays an important part in our lives and in our environment. It covers nearly 3/4 of the Earth's surface. It is fun to play in, but it is also needed for life. In fact, we cannot survive without water to drink. People also need water to wash, cook, and grow food. Every living thing needs water. Without it, plants and trees would not grow, aquatic life would have nowhere to live, and animals who find their food in the water would have nothing to eat. Up in the Earth's atmosphere, water vapor cools and collects into clouds. When enough clusters of cloud particles stick together, they fall back down to Earth in the form of rain, snow, sleet, or hail. So without water, the water cycle would not work and we would not have precipitation on Earth. Did you know that most of the world's population does not have access to clean water? We are very lucky to live in a country where clean water is readily available for us to use. It is up to us to be responsible users of the water here on Earth. All right, so now that I have read my passage twice, now I should be able to find the main idea. Now, the first strategy that I had talked about is looking for those words that repeat themselves, those patterns that we see. And we see that word water over and over again. So obviously, we're talking about water and nothing really else. Okay, so the next strategy is looking at that first sentence in the paragraph, because a lot of times that first sentence is giving us enough information to let us know what we're about to read. So look at that first sentence. Water plays an important part in our lives and in our environment. Now, do you think that would make a good main idea statement? Yes, because we have read all of the things that we need in order to survive. We've read about how water plays an important part and in our environment. So the main idea would be that first sentence. Okay, so now that we have found our main idea, now we need to look for some supporting details. And typically we can find 3 good supporting details. So let's find them. It covers nearly 3/4 of the Earth's surface. Okay, that's not really a supporting detail that would go with this. It's just giving us information about how much water covers the Earth. Okay, the next sentence. It is fun to play in, but it is also needed for life. Okay, the first part of that sentence, it is fun to play in, that's more of an opinion. I wouldn't necessarily use that as a fact. And with informational text, you're looking for facts. So that would not make a good supporting detail. But look at the second part of that sentence. It is also needed for life. Okay, so we're talking about how water plays an important part in our life. It is needed for life. So I'm going to highlight that. That would be our first supporting detail. In fact, we cannot survive without water to drink. People also need water to wash, cook, and grow food. Okay, so when we're finding those supporting details, we're looking at those things like that have examples. And since we found that what's needed for life, it's just giving us examples why we need the water. Okay, look at the next sentence. Every living thing needs water. That sentence is a very important part of this paragraph. So that would make another good supporting detail because it says every living thing needs water. Therefore, water plays an important part in our lives and in our environment. So I'm going to highlight that sentence as well. Okay, let's read the next sentence. Without it, plants and trees would not grow, aquatic life would have nowhere to live, and animals who find their food in the water would have nothing to eat. Okay, that's just giving us examples about how other living things would need water. Okay, next sentence. Up in the Earth's atmosphere, water vapor cools and collects into clouds. When enough clusters of cloud particles stick together, they fall back down to Earth in the form of rain, snow, sleet, or hail. Okay, with that, it's just talking about how we get water. It's not really talking about how it plays an important part in our lives, but just how we even get water here on Earth. Okay, so let's look at the next sentence. So without water, the water cycle would not work and we would not have precipitation on Earth. So to me, that's a very important detail because it talks about how if we did not have water, we would not be able to have all of these things in order to survive on Earth. Okay, so let's look at the next sentence. Did you know that most of the world's population does not have access to clean water? A lot of times with this particular sentence, authors just like to add some additional facts just to keep your attention. So that's all this sentence is. It's not really anything that supports it, would not be considered a supporting detail, but it's just keeping your attention about how important water is. Okay, look at the next sentence. We are very lucky to live in a country where clean water is readily available for us to use. Now, for us here in the United States, that sentence is important, but if I was reading this somewhere else, that sentence would not apply to me. So I would not consider that to be a supporting detail. That's just more of like an opinion that we can have in an informational text. And the last sentence, it is up to us to be responsible users of the water here on Earth. Okay, that last sentence ties into how water plays an important part in our lives and in our environment. All right, so now we have found our main idea and we have found our 3 supporting details. So that should help us when we are getting ready to write our summary. All right, so when we're thinking of writing a summary, first of all, we know that a summary is just a brief restatement, but what do we need to include to have a strong summary? Okay, first thing, summaries should be shorter than the passage. This is very important. If you are writing something that is longer than the passage that we just read, you are now writing an essay. We're just writing a brief overstatement of what we just read. Number 2, we must include the main idea and at least 2 important details. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit different because we found 3. Now they want us to write using 2. How would we do that? And number 3, when you're writing, you need to include the passage, the title passage, in your summary statement. So don't forget that. All right, so now let's take these rules so we can begin writing. Now, I have actually already written a summary statement, so what I'm going to do is break it down sentence by sentence so you see what I have done. All right, first sentence. Wonders of Water is mostly about how water plays an important part in our lives and in our environment. All right, so that first sentence, I've included the title of the passage, and I've included the main idea, what it's mostly about. And I have taken that first sentence from the passage and just put it in my summary. You can do that. In 4th grade, we do allow you to pull straight from the text. So you can do that. All right, look at my next sentence. With a summary, I am using something called evidence. Okay, I know this, or I found this information about how water plays an important part because the text states we cannot survive without water. So I pulled one of those really important supporting details, and I made my sentence state that I found it. That's my evidence. Okay, look at the next sentence. The text also states without water, plants and trees cannot grow. Okay, so I've used my main idea in the first sentence, and I've used 2 of those supporting details to include in my next 2 sentences. So you can see my summary is only 3 sentences, but I have basically told you everything that the article is about or the passage is about. That is what makes a good summary. Think about when you are telling someone that you're just repeating what you've just read. They don't want to know every single thing, just the important stuff, and that's what a summary is. Okay, so what we have done today is we have reviewed how to find the main idea of an informational text and those supporting details, and now we have taken that and we have written a summary. So hopefully you can use this for your next summary writing. Bye.